clicker. Oh, there we go. That's us. Bigger than life.
Wow, it's scary that big.
Right. So I'm Dave Rosen. I lead creative development, so development of fictional characters and worlds for Free Hive games. I also have a long-time background in product and brand marketing with a bunch of different gaming companies. And Jake, I don't know if you want to.
I'm Jake, or Papa Jake, and I'm a YouTuber slash gamer, and I mostly do kind of online comedic content.
And between the two of us, we have across our channels over 2.5 million followers. That's combined. If you had to, it's an average of like 1.25 million. But if you actually looked at the distribution, you would find that it's entirely on that side of the stage. So just to give you a taste of the one of us that actually is creating cool content online. Oh, videos are cursed. Perhaps not. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Nope. Not happening.
Just act it out.
Yeah. Okay, well, imagine something hilarious, but also educational, because that's what just happened. All right, well, we'll skip right to that. You're apparently going to be stuck with our awesome faces, but you can look at the real live version over here. So Jake, you've been on YouTube since 2009?
Yes.
Is that right?
Long time.
And so I mentioned it. You've now got across your channels like more than 2.5 million subscribers.
Yep.
More than 500 million video views, which is crazy. Talk to me a little bit about just what got you started it originally. What interested you in kind of this idea of going online, creating videos, talking about what you were doing. What pulled you in?
Yeah, I mean, like when I started back in 2009, like being a YouTuber wasn't really a thing. So for me, it was just kind of a fun place to put my videos and show someone else than my mom and dad. Because I mean, I've always liked to make videos, and I think one of the first things I realized was, oh, well, I can't act. And back then I wasn't really funny, so I was like, oh, well, I can just film myself playing video games, and people will watch it. That's kind of where it all started.
Nice. What do you feel like was the biggest sort of getting started as you started to get more into it and move forward and start to want to develop an audience? What did you feel like was the biggest challenge for you trying to start really getting people beyond mom and dad?
Right. I mean, like when I started, I was obviously a lot younger, so there's definitely the time commitment. YouTube's like very time consuming. So I was in school and I was trying to do work-life balance. But I also think the biggest thing for me was trying to build an audience that was more interested in myself versus the content or the games that I'm playing. I wanted them to come back for me, not just to see a cool, clip of a game.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and I think that's become something we just assume. We talk about influencers, right? We talk about YouTubers, and we talk about the creators, but that was not always necessarily the case, right?
No influence.
We were talking about in the back that 7-8 years ago you were just a voice.
Yes.
Then you became sort of a face in the upper right-hand corner of the video, and now now you're doing live stuff, full body, like that.
Very big.
Yeah. Even bigger than that in the videos coming right at you. So what, as you wanted to kind of develop into being known as you, not just as the videos, kind of what drove you to start moving to diversify what you were doing?
Yeah, I think for me, it wasn't all me. I was definitely kind of still just in my basement, not even, putting on a nice shirt, making gaming videos. And then it wasn't until I started to take it a little more seriously, I surrounded myself with a lot of good people who were like, well, look, this is more than just you playing video games, you have to become a brand. And so I rebranded my name, I rebranded the way like I make the videos, I put my face and everything, and I really wanted to make it more about like me and people coming back to me. And so that's kind of where that started.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so when it comes to what probably a lot of the folks in this room are thinking about, and I think how we've come into contact and partnerships with companies working on gaming. I mean, I know from our side we look at it and there are more than 500 new apps a day coming into the App Store. I was looking at some stats the other day. It's about as of a year ago, there were more than 630,000 games on the App Store, right? So trying to find ways to get a game to stand out, and then we see from research that among mobile gamers, 90% or more will at least once a week go on YouTube and look at a video. So as people have come to you and said, hey, we like what you're doing, we want to work with you, what have you seen be successful in starting to work with partners?
Yeah, I think like for us, it was definitely starting to treat it more like a business. It wasn't, oh, we're just gonna randomly shout out a game. It was kind of like, all right, well, how are we gonna do it? How can we sell it? I mean, there's a lot of marketing that goes with it. Mm-hmm. And as much as it is me just having fun, there's also the business side to things. And I think one of the biggest things for us was kind of getting that influence without like a concrete branding. You can still get like 500,000 views on YouTube if you're making a review of a game, but you can't drive everyone to go check out your favorite game because no one cares about you. Mm-hmm. But if you have an audience that really cares, they're going to say, oh, I want to go see this game that Papa Jake's talking about, and I'm going to download it and I'm going to play it.
Nice. So what are the requests you get? I'm sure you've had them through the years where you just go, what are these guys thinking? Like, this is just not going to work. Like, I'm interested to hear a little bit from your perspective of someone who, because you have a brand, you have your personal brand that you have to be concerned about. You have just an imperative in general to create sticky, interesting content that works for people, right? So there's no benefit for you or benefit for anyone who might want to work with you to like, oh, let's put out a crappy video, right? That's not going to work. So I'm interested to hear kind of from your point of view, what have you seen that as people come to you with ideas, what in your mind starts to separate, oh yeah, that's something that could work, I think we can work together, I think there's something there, versus, yeah, this group just doesn't get it or isn't going to allow me to work in a way that's going to be successful.
Right. I think like a lot of companies do get it, but there are definitely some that don't understand that everyone's audience is different and you connect with your audience differently. So a lot of brands will come to us and they'll be like, all right, you need to like literally read this script. And I'm saying, well, I don't talk like that. I don't do these things that you want me to do. Like my viewers are going to know it's fake. It's not genuine. Mm-hmm. And if it's not a genuine thing coming from like me or any other influencer, their viewers are going to see through that and they're not going to want to check out whatever you're talking about. So I think like in terms of things that are huge red flags, it's definitely like here's a script. Like talking points are okay, but like just being very like analytical, like change this word or take this out. You can't really get like that when you're doing influencer marketing. It just has to be very natural, I think. Yeah, that totally makes sense. What do you, as you think about, we're here today specifically talking about mobile, and you've obviously got a background working with all sorts of games. What role do you see mobile playing in, how do you see mobile working on YouTube, and what role do you see it playing in kind of your ecosystem of content? It's huge. I mean, for us, we do different deals. Like mobile is obviously one of the biggest players in gaming right now. And I think the thing that I love about it so much, especially when it comes to like influencer marketing, is the fact that it's just so easy for anyone to get on. I mean, like our viewers, no matter if they're like 30 years old to 5 years old, they have a cell phone, they can go on, they can play a game. I mean, I even know when I'm doing a live stream, I can say, hey guys, we're checking out this new game, go play it. And people will go, it takes 2 minutes to download it, they'll play it for 5 minutes, come back and be like, oh Jake, I played it, it was really fun, I got to this level. I'm like, oh yeah, you got that? Did you get like this, did you unlock that? So I think it's a lot easier to access than, a $70 game that you have to go to GameStop and buy or something like that. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think that's the, I think both the opportunity and the challenge for us is, it's easy for someone to come in the first time, but oops, but if they don't find a world that they find interesting, right, a game that they find interesting, then it's also really easy to, download the next thing. You haven't put in $70. You're not committed. Let's talk a little bit more about, so,
like you said, you've been on from early days. You've been on from before like advertising was really a thing. Certainly before kind of influencer marketing as such was a thing. You've gone from, last year, I think, and correct me if I'm getting this wrong, I think last year you hit the 1 million subscriber milestone.
Yeah.
Less than a year or so after that, you hit the 2 million subscriber milestone. Now you're growing at like 150, 160,000 subscribers a month. You have over 3,500 videos. What, as you think about continuing to grow, I know you talked about early on sort of a realization that, okay, you needed to start making it a little bit more about you, a little bit less about just kind of what you were talking about, I guess.
Right.
What are the things you're thinking about now about how you continue to grow, how you continue to broaden what you're doing?
Yeah, I think for me, continuing kind of along where we're going right now, a lot of it's kind of moving from me in my basement to a company, and I don't really like to say that because YouTube is so much like you in your house talking directly to your viewers, but one of the biggest things for me is like I realized early on, like in order to grow, like you need to surround yourself with people who can help with that. So whether it's a manager, whether it's an editor, someone to film the videos, you kind of need that to take it to the next level, and that's sort of where YouTube's going.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's, I think what you're describing is actually really similar to what we've seen in mobile gaming in general, right? I mean, it's gone from, which is, I think pretty common through the cycle of technology, but it's gone from early days of mobile, not a lot of games out there, a lot of them were not very good. So if you had a good game, people were going to find it, people were going to play it. Now, just because of the volume of content, the amount of money that's in there, the amount of marketing that's going on, you've got to find ways to stand out. And I think that's where finding the right people to partner with and partner with in an organic way really makes a difference. What are what are the things you see on the horizon that you're either in that kind of YouTube universe that you're either excited about or worried about? What's kind of on your mind as maybe not necessarily just with your channel, but that ecosystem?
Right. I mean, like there's a lot of different elements to it. Like I'm definitely excited as to where YouTube's moving as like an industry. It is becoming more like TV, but in its own way. So I think like very high quality content is kind of where things are going, and I've noticed that. I mean, you mentioned I have 3,000 videos, but now we're doing 3 a week because we realize that 3 videos a day, well, you can't really put as much effort and as much of your heart into those. So I'm excited as to where that's going for sure.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you've actually started reducing the volume of videos that you're doing. Interesting. And and how's that? Are you? I mean, obviously the channel's growing like crazy, so I assume that's working. But have you found any pitfalls with that? Like, what's the experience been like?
I mean, it's definitely more stressful because you're putting a lot on one video versus, like a shotgun blast of all these different videos that might go viral, might not go viral. But I think our viewers really appreciate the fact that we're putting, our heart and soul into this one thing. It's very high quality. There's lots of editing. And when they get on and they watch it the same way they would, any other TV show. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something people may not always realize is, these are not all super short videos, right? There's a lot of these are really long and intricate, either game playthroughs or when you're doing projects in the house, when you're building a giant box fort. You've got really extended content, and I think that's that's a thing within FreeHive as we've done consumer research in both the U.S. and in Europe. We've found that there's a real connection between the segments of players who are spenders on mobile and the people who spend long amounts of time on whether it's YouTube or Twitch, any of the video channels. They really want to consume that content and understand what they're playing, what they should be playing, the best way to play.
Right.
They're not, you use the term viral, and I think the definition of that is maybe changing because they're not necessarily looking for just like, oh, what's that 90-second funny clip.
Exactly.
But it's more like, oh, what's that thing that's really interesting that I can really learn from and kind of get credibility by sharing with other people.
Right.
What do you think about, you're in the realm of creative, right? You're making entertainment. how do you balance the risk reward of trying different things, whether it's just your own ideas or again kind of working with partners and think about, hey, this partner showed up, they really want to do something, they're bringing resources to the table, they're going to support it, but we have to figure out where it's going creatively. How do you think about, I guess, sort of the risk factor of, just to put a fine point on it, like if you make a bad video, right? How does that, have you experienced that? What's the impact, and how do you?
Yeah, like a lot of, especially if we're working with a partner, I find that they're more likely to look at something that's already successful and say, okay, do that. We'll, either give you money or we'll help you, like, just do what this guy did, but do it again. And we're kind of sitting there like, it's okay to kind of look at viral content and try to base your content off of it, but what we've found to be the most successful is our own original stuff. So it can still be, making a box fort or whatever, but do something different that no one else has. And I think, like, for us, that's something we learned the hard way, because it was very much like, yeah, okay, this video is viral, let's just copy it. And then it bombed. And so that, like, it was something that we had to deal with, like, oh, is it us? Is it the fact that this is already played out? And it wasn't until, like, after a while we said, all right, let's just put it all on the line, we're gonna risk it, we'll do something that there's no data for, really. And I mean, one of the things, it sounds silly, but one of the things that's blowing up right now for us is box forts. Literally boxes that you have fun in. And like, the last month we've had over 30 million views of us playing in a box.
It's amazing. If you have not gone to the channel yet, go, because in talking to Jake and talking to Brian, who Jake works with, they kept talking about box forts, and I'm like, right, box forts, trying to act cool even though I'm old. And then I went on the channel, I'm like, oh my God, he means box forts. And it's amazing, these giant cardboard constructions that, like, you would have been super excited about to play in as a kid, and it is oddly exciting and hypnotic to watch you visualize and then build and then play in these things. So is that, I mean, obviously it sounds like, like you said, that one you didn't, there was no box fort playbook for you to follow. Have there been other examples of something that you've done that you're like, I mean, we're doing a video today, it's not really going to be anything, and then it's turned out to be great. Either that individual video was great, or it just kicked off an idea, a direction that you hadn't seen coming.
Yeah, one of our most viewed videos, I think it's around 8 million views now, is one day we were literally just getting Red Bull, because we're always drinking that before work. But anyway, we were in a convenience store and I saw one of those, like, big kind of lighter bricks, and I just said, that'd be funny to light on fire. So we bought these 2 bricks of those, whatever, Bic lighters, and brought them home, and we did lighting 200 lighters on fire. And we just thought, whatever, we're just gonna do that. And then, yeah, like, instantly, one of our most viewed videos today.
That's amazing. Did Bic immediately call you and say, look, you're making it happen?
I don't think they like the fact that we lit all their lighters on fire.
Please indicate in the video that our lighters are not flammable.
Yes.
Nice. That's amazing. Is that, what do you think about, so if, again, kind of, thinking about as for folks who might want to try and work with you, sounds like that one was just sort of a little bit spur of the moment. Hey, lighters, let's do this. Is there I guess sort of a best practice, a best way to engage with you is like, hey, you know what? Come talk to us and give us a month and we can really make this thing sing? Or is it like, just come talk to us, we'll bang out an idea in a week? Like what? I suspect we all may have unrealistic expectations of, like, for example, even just the fact that you keep using the term we, which I think is great because you're representing that you've got a team you're working with. But I think a lot of us, you watch a video and you're like, oh yeah, that's just, I literally don't, I always like forget there's someone else holding the camera. I'm like, oh, he made a video, and I'm like, wait, but the camera's moving and he's standing there and I see his hands. So as you think about someone coming and saying, hey, I want to work with you, or just the process to get to great content, what's the timeline look like, or what is the process you see as potentially successful?
Yeah, like it can range from anywhere from a day to a week. Most of our shoots are only a day long, so the videos themselves only take a day to shoot. But I think, like, the biggest thing that a brand can do is not to rush it. It's really easy to be like, we need this done in a week, and we're sitting there like, okay, well, whatever your concept is, water or something like that. If it's a video game about water, we need to come up with something that we truly think our viewers are going to like versus like, I don't know, the first thing that comes to your head, because it won't work that way. So I think having patience is probably the biggest thing with that, because it will make the difference between a video that flops or a video that does really well.
Are there, either for you or just others you've seen, examples that jump to mind of, hey, here's a time we worked with someone and it worked really well?
Yeah, like it's kind of, well, again, our most viewed video was a video with Conor McGregor. And so it's kind of hard for me to say, well, that worked really well because of us. I mean, it's Conor McGregor. He's a
Who's that? Yeah.
He's a very big celebrity. So but that's one thing where they kind of came to us and they're like, look, you're going to go to a UFC stadium. You're going to have Conor McGregor, a couple other UFC fighters, and make something. And so we kind of went there and we're like, all right, well, how are we going to do this? So we came up with some like challenge ideas and stuff like that. And that was one that ended up, again, being one of our most viewed videos now, I think over 15 million views. So that was a great example of like just complete free, like, here are the assets, go do what you guys do. That's
great. Oh, that's really cool. And for the record, I have heard of Conor McGregor. I don't live under a rock. Him and Mayweather, we'll see. So, what do you think? I'm going to go back to my tiny notebook because I did make notes because I have the memory of a parakeet. So, YouTube itself has gone through a lot of change and a lot of evolution. From again kind of starting in sort of this ad-free world and a very just kind of a content world to now a personality-driven world, and as you said, going to much more high-end sort of content expectation. Challenges like the stuff that happened recently around safe advertising,
right?
The adpocalypse. What do you think about as you're continuing to evolve your channels, diversify what you're doing? How are you approaching kind of some of those challenges, those changes? And is there anything you see or you think might be coming in just kind of how marketers engage on YouTube?
Yeah, like one of our biggest things that we did was rebranding our channel to be kid-friendly. If you go back, a couple months or 6 months or so, it wasn't kid-friendly at all. I mean, there wasn't anything too graphic or whatnot, but we'd drop a swear word every now and then and kind of do some stuff that maybe an 8-year-old parents wouldn't want them watching, the lighter video included. But yeah, we really went back and just thought like, all right, what's the most accessible to everyone? And that we have little cousins and nephews, like what could they watch? And I think that not only the marketers that are already established look at that and they say, okay, we like this, but moving forward, we have to kind of almost work with brands who might have a game that's 18 plus or M-rated, and we go like, look, we can market this, but if your tagline's like F everyone or something like that, we can't put that in our videos, and to be frank, like no one really wants to see that.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one of the biggest things. It's funny because we kind of had to recorrect ourselves based on a lot of the bigger marketers, and then now we're kind of going and educating some of the smaller brands and being like, no, don't make that your tagline. It's not good. So that's one of the biggest changes.
Yeah, that's cool. As you think about that, you mentioned you've got nephews, got other kids. Think about what they would like. Obviously we all see just the really raw kind of metric of how many views did that video get. What else are you looking at to gauge success or kind of guide creative direction? Is it feedback from just kind of other people you interact with? Is it the comments? Is it other places that you're getting that you might look at something and say, hey, the view numbers were good, but maybe it wasn't 10 million, but here's why I think that worked well, or hey, that had a good number of views, but here's why I feel like actually maybe it's not working as well as we'd like.
Yeah, like for us, it's funny you mentioned that. Like it's very easy to look at a video that does extremely well or is viral, but what I'm looking mostly for is, for lack of a better word, really having that influence with our viewers. We don't want a video that's just viral for the sake of being viral and then people look at it and then they leave. We want people to look at it and then become a fan. We want them to leave a comment and follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter. And that's something that we've started to notice more of recently with kind of rebranding to be more of a personality. It wasn't just, okay, cool video, leave a comment, and I'm gone. It's like, this is the most amazing video ever. I'm gonna stay in the comments because I'm having a chat about the shirt Papa Jake was wearing today. And that was kind of like a big switch for us, is like having actual fans versus having viewers. And I think there's a big difference when it comes to not only like the way we do content, but also marketing in general.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Thinking about marketing in general. I mean, I think one of the big shifts we have seen and continue to see is around sort of authenticity and transparency, and people both being more savvy about what is and isn't marketing, and having a higher expectation of transparency. Again, a couple of years ago, it wasn't uncommon to just see stuff there, and you're like, wait, was this paid for? Was it not?
Right.
Now there's an expectation that you're going to talk about that. How do you approach that, and what do you think is the right way to approach that conversation with your audience, right? How do you want to be able to kind of represent to them, hey, this is someone I'm consciously working with. This is a marketing activity, not just I saw it in the store and thought it looked cool.
Right. Like I think for me, I personally hate when I feel like cheated. So I know there's a lot of videos where I'll watch it, and even if I love the video, if it's like after this was an ad, I'm like, oh, they got me. And that, like, for some reason, it pisses me off. I don't know why. So like when I do marketing in my videos for any brand, I try to make it like very upfront, very transparent. And the biggest thing for me is to make it seem like natural, whether it's a mobile game or whether it's whatever, a coffee brand. I want people to think, oh, this is just something Papa Jake would play on his spare time, or this is something he would use, and just kind of like let our viewers know up front, this is sponsored by these guys, but hey, like I don't accept deals unless I truly believe in them, so here's why I think it's awesome and why you should think it's awesome too.
Nice. So do you ever reach out and you say, hey, you know what, I don't know, I'm wearing these pants, they're the most comfortable pants I've ever had, I should totally call those guys up and see if they want to work together?
Yeah, actually.
It doesn't have to be pants related.
No, it's funny actually. I did that recently for a shirt company. It was Home is Canada. So as a Canadian, I thought, whenever I'm traveling, I'm like, oh, that's such a cool shirt. They do a lot of like Home is Toronto and Toronto versus everyone. And I was like, I reached out to them and I said, hey, I'm a YouTuber. I would love to wear your stuff whenever I'm traveling. And they were like, yeah, for sure. So they sent me everything. And not only did I do like a little shout out in my video to promote them, but then I wear them on a day-to-day basis so people know it's not just the ad.
That's awesome. And it's nice to be able to embrace stuff you authentically feel good about.
Yes.
What's the response when someone reaches out who, either you flat out don't like, or they're like, our game is about stringing as many swear words together as possible,
right.
Or, is that, are you at this point in a place where you feel comfortable saying, hey, look, this just isn't going to work? Or, how do you kind of approach those maybe sometimes difficult conversations? Yeah,
like whenever a brand reaches out to me, like first I obviously think, well, do I like this? Because if I hate it, then I'm not going to work with them. But I think I definitely look for like ththose red flags that I spoke about earlier. It's, are they pushing their own agenda onto me? Like, you have to do the video this way and that way. But I think the biggest thing is I look for if they really want me to cheat my viewers. And a lot of brands do. They're very much like, all right, this is how you're going to drive as much traffic. Like, do a fake giveaway where they have to come to our link. And I'm like, no. Like, I'm not cheating my viewers.
Yeah.
And I think like looking at a brand that just sounds very like they don't care about their own product, let alone my viewers, then I'm just like, I don't want to do anything with you guys.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things, again, where we're seeing evolution, particularly in mobile, from kind of, there was a lot of what I would call sort of bait and switch advertising, a lot of ads that were showing stuff that wasn't even in the game,
right.
That kind of thing, and we've seen as we've, been exploring with our own games, even things like just saying in the copy for the ad, this is video of actual gameplay,
right.
Which I know was something that kind of came into fashion a while ago for console and PC games, but I think you're now starting to see that on mobile, and I think everyone's having that similar reaction.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to believe what I'm seeing is actually what I'm going to get.
I think too, like one thing that is like a huge red flag, which I know like a lot of mobile companies, not that they're like really wrong in doing it, but they want to either send me gameplay or set me up in like a rigged kind of scenario. And I don't really like that. It's like, oh, well, we're going to give you the best gear. Don't tell your viewers, by the way, that this is like not what you get. And then it's like, yeah, pretend that this is a game you're playing and that you won and all this other stuff. And it's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make it fake.
So do you prefer, is it just play it from the beginning? Is it, hey, just let you spend time with it and then you'll figure out kind of what and where you want to show? How do you, or does that vary by game?
A lot of times whenever I do a mobile game, obviously with a lot of mobile games, it's, there's coins or gems or something like that, and companies always want to say, well, here's 100 gems or 50 gems, and a lot of times I say, just don't give me that. I'll just play from the beginning, experience it as my viewers would experience it, and I almost think it works better that way because they get to see, from the bottom what it's like to kind of progress, and it's almost like I'm playing along, not like they're watching me and I'm level 500 already. So I think viewers like that, and they appreciate how genuine it is.
Nice. No, that totally makes sense. Are there, you've got kind of a room full of industry folks. You've got a creative leader, or leader's probably too strong a word. Marketer on the stage. Are there questions you have, stuff you've always wondered? Hey, why do they approach me about this? Or
yeah, that's a good question. I guess if I had to think off the top of my head, something that there's a lot of things.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No. I'm just trying to think how to word this. I don't want to.
I have a whole second page of notes, so we got loads more content.
No, I think questions I would have are things that I don't like. Why would you ask me to cheat my viewers, or why would you ask me to, why do you want it to be so scripted? Why do you want to set up these scenarios that aren't really real? And I mean, I don't want to call anyone out and be like,
yeah, no. And what's your sense? I mean, my perception is that there's an increasing understanding that stuff doesn't work. I know you mentioned, kind of feels like sort of the bigger brands, the bigger groups are getting that,
right? And
it's trickling down, and you're helping educate. Do you feel like you're getting less of those kind of spam requests, or?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's getting better. It's kind of like companies there's certain companies that are known amongst YouTubers, so it's almost like you get an email from them, you kind of discard it. But in general, a lot of brands are doing a lot better with that. And I guess kind of going back to your previous question, one thing that we kind of not necessarily don't understand, but I think it's a point to make, is a lot of brands, when they work with us, they're very centered on downloads. They're very centered on playtime and stuff like that, and not so much getting their game out there. And I think for us, one, there's obviously a marketing aspect of if we're putting a pre-roll of your game in front of our video, that's still marketing. But also too, it's if that doesn't catch the viewer in whatever we've shown, it's not really, I don't want to say it's not on us, but it's kind of at that point, it's well, sure, we've done everything we can do.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of brands think, oh, if you can't sell our game, it's your fault, not our fault.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a tough balance, right? No one, no one wants to feel like their game isn't great, right? No one, despite what gamers might think or feel, sometimes no one sets out to make a bad game. But depending on the moment, some things hit, some things don't. So I think you're right. I think that's a big challenge. And I also think the other thing that happens is, mobile has really grown up in this world of performance-based media, where you're really tracking everything, not just to download, but on through to how long do they stay in the game, how much did they spend, and I think that the two challenges are that because it's become so saturated, there's increasing need for just brand awareness of your game, because to help drive down the costs of that performance marketing. And the other thing that really came through as we did this really deep segmentation research of our mid-core mobile gaming audience is that there's a huge segment of folks who won't spend money, right? They just believe they shouldn't, and it's wrong, but they're actually hugely influential for people who will spend money and talk to them about games. So I think to your point, there's a big opportunity to reach the kind of people who, are more likely to have the time to want to sit and watch an hour-plus video of a game. That might be someone who's not looking to go then spend a ton of money in that game, but they might tell 10 of their friends about the game.
For sure.
And you won't be able to track that,
Yeah.
but you have to recognize that there's an opportunity there.
And that's actually something that we kind of tested, sort of by accident, but at the same time, it was something we did. We were working with a lot of brands who were like, we're only going to pay for downloads. And I'm very much of the mindset, like, marketing the game, whether, if people download it, they might, first of all, not download it through the link that we use, but also, like you said, they might tell their friends, they might tell their grandma or whoever. So we kind of did a test with that, and we went, one brand deal, we mentioned the game, obviously, as you do, and the downloads were okay. They're kind of like what we do for average downloads. The next game we did not mention the game. So people could not search for it in the App Store, which the brand was really mad about. But the downloads,
like a fun conversation.
Yeah, the downloads were 4 times our average because people couldn't just go off the video and search for it. So I think that's something to note is that viewers don't necessarily go, all right, I'm gonna go in the description, I'm gonna find that link, I'm gonna click it. If your game is Battlestar or whatever, they're just gonna go App Store, Battlestar, download. And I think a lot of brands miss that out, and it kind of gets put on YouTubers as, oh, you didn't do your job, but clearly it's getting out there. Like the word is getting out there, and that's kind of what we try to do.
Nice. So I think the magic clock is telling me we have 4 minutes and 18 seconds left. I believe we were meant to reserve about 5 minutes for questions. So are there any questions? You can ask them of an interesting person, or also I'm available. Yes.
So how do you measure your self-value? How do you negotiate with brands about each post, the price of each post? Do you mind your price public to the whole world?
Right. That's a good question. So that was one of the things when I mentioned kind of becoming more of a business. I quickly went and got a manager. So one of the companies I'm here with, Spartan Elite, they do all my managing work. So they do the negotiations, they talk to the brand. So on the face, I'm like, hey guys, I really want to work with you. This is gonna be awesome. And then they'll go and they'll say, well, here are the metrics, here's the watch time. Let's talk back and forth for a week. And then at the end of the week, I'm there like, all right, let's make a cool video. So that's kind of how I do it, and I know a lot of other influencers do it the same way because it isn't as simple as, well, this is my number. Every deal is different.
Okay. Do you mind your price public to the whole world, or it depends?
I think it just depends on the deal. So I know from our side, having worked with Jake and worked with other influencers, it really varies depending on the project, depending on who you're working with. In some cases, Spartan Elite's a great example where they're working with Jake, but also with other YouTubers, other influencers, and so you may be putting together something where you're working with multiple people over time. So, it's not. I think that's another thing that's a shift for marketers, is that it's not kind of the traditional, like, here's the rate card price, or hey, here's what we're going to put as our our bid, our CPI bid. So it really is more of a case by case conversation. Other questions?
I've got a question. Is there like a sort of a specific tip or a couple of tips for making the most, but for do's and don'ts, I guess, for dealing with kind of influencers? Because I think there's a big variety of results from what I talk to a lot of people. I think things can be incredible or absolutely nothing happen. Like, is there any particular key tip you'd say, like, don't do this or definitely do that?
Yeah, like, I guess for me, obviously, as I mentioned, if I ever do get a brand deal or someone talking to me, I just, send it off to my manager, and they'll do most of that work. But I think, like, in terms of catching my attention, obviously, Spartan Elite will do the negotiations, but if I don't like the brand or the game, then I'll just say, well, I don't want to do it no matter what. So I think catching the influencer's attention is really important. So if you're going to send me an email, you got to kind of pitch me, not just, this is the, money we want to spend, or hey, we want to work with you. Be like, this is our game, this is why it's awesome, here's some screenshots of it, like, your viewers will love it. And then I go, oh yeah, that is really cool, like, my viewers will love that, I'll love it, let's do something, versus, like, I don't know who you are, I don't know what your game is. And to be fair, like, I'm I'm busy, so I don't have time to look at it in the App Store or download it. Like I kind of need the Coles Notes version of that. So I think that's like the most important thing.
Yeah, and I would say from the sort of the developer side of things, take the time to actually go to that person's channel, go to their, wherever their presence is, whether it's obviously, if it's YouTube, but whatever, whatever networks they're on or want to be on, I think there's similarly a tendency to just look and go, oh, okay, that person's got 1 million followers, let's do something with them. And, actually putting some time into, hey, what kind of stuff do they do? Is the kind of game we're doing, is that a fit for them? Are they just doing, I don't know, all kids games or all M-rated games, and we're the opposite? I think a lot of the misses have come from people who just kind of look at a raw number and don't actually think about, okay, how are we going to actually fit in with this content? And
one more thing I will say, which is like a super huge red flag, is don't mass email. Like we will not only make fun of it on Twitter and in our own, YouTuber groups, but if it's like undisclosed recipients, hey guys, we want to do a brand deal, it's like an instant delete. And in fact, a lot of times companies will mass email like everyone, and they'll forget to, leave that out, and you'll see it's to all these people.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's probably your mom. Yeah. They usually call at awkward moments.
It's not when I wake up.
and you're on Toronto time, so to say we got you out of bed early would be understating it. Well, thank you all for the time. It looks like we're going to leave you with the video at the end. We'll see. I'm not going to guarantee anything, but if I just thank you, Jake, for coming and taking the time. It was awesome to hear from you, and thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. Awesome.
We are checking out this game because we got it early, guys. Because it finally happened. The day has come. There is no questioning it anymore. What is in my hands right now? All right? I know a lot of you guys are thinking, you're saying Jake, it's fake. You're saying Jake, it's not real. But look what happened, guys. Because I got this in the mail. And when I put this into my Xbox, a big thing shows up. It's a big skeleton. And then I see 2 little midgets banging each other. And they make weird sounds. But once they're done, this is what pops up. And we're going to explore it today together. And did I mention, guys, that if you hit that like button, you will get $1 million in cash tomorrow in your bank account. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but I am 900% sure that if you smash that like button right now, you will never die of cancer. Now, these are claims that I can 100% back up as a doctor. So let's jump right into this.